In your light meter, you cannot trust.
The view of your screen might be a bust.
So don't be a fool.
You need to use the right tool.
Histogram faith is a must.
Welcome to PHOTOCADEMY. This is lesson number 2, the critical importance of photography histograms. Unfortunately, there are many tutorials and websites that tell you not to bother using this critical and necessary tool. Also, on the flip side, also known as the correct side, I've heard it described as the 21st century light meter. This is the way I believe you should view it too.
If you like this video, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends. If you have any questions about any topics, feel free to comment and we will do our very best to answer them in a timely manner.
Let's set a couple of expectations about histograms. First, there is no such thing as a perfect histogram. Every image is going to have a different set of color tones, therefore a different histogram. Second, it is giving you an accurate representation of exposure accuracy versus just looking at your screen. The screen in the back of your camera is just like your smartphone. When you're outside on a bright sunny day, it doesn't seem that bright versus at night in a dark room. That difference is the way we see the screen affects our judgment of how well exposed our image is when not using the histogram.
How many times have you had to work with the exposure slider in Lightroom or Adobe Camera Raw? Is it too often? Being able to evaluate your image's exposure before leaving the scene will give you better color, contrast, and less noise. It can also prevent overexposure and blown out highlights.
In my opinion, shooting digital images is like shooting slide film. You can only achieve top quality images when your exposure is perfect or within 1/3 of a stop. Underexposure of more than that can introduce too much noise, especially if you are off by more than a stop. A term you may have heard in the past is shoot to the right. What does that mean? In basic terms, you want to push the data in the histogram as far to the right side as possible without overexposing. This ensures you have the most data to work with in post-production and distributes the image exposure within the camera's dynamic range. Cambridge in Color defines dynamic range in photography as the ratio between the maximum and minimum measurable light intensities. In the real world, one never really encounters true white or black, only varying degrees of light source intensity and subject reflectivity. Therefore, the concept of dynamic range becomes more complicated and depends whether you're describing a capture device, a display device, or the subject itself. In other words, dynamic range is a difference in stops from the brightest to the darkest areas of an image that still contain data. DxOMark, an independent camera and lens testing measurement website, measures each new camera's dynamic range. They state that higher quality cameras have a dynamic range of 12 to 14 stops, with the DA10 topping the scales at 14 stops. If we underexpose an image by a stop or two, we lose that dynamic range and image data. In general, when viewing your histogram, make sure there is no flat spot on the right side like in this one. A 1 or 2 stop underexposure of this image would have looked like this when it produces muddier tones and must be fixed in post. Many times this image, especially with a quick glance, would look fine on the back of your camera. If you would double check your histogram, you would see there is no color detail in the brighter tones, which should be present in this image. Just like anything in photography, there are exceptions. In this leaf photo, there are no bright tones to fill that part of the graph, so the correct exposure in histogram should have a flat spot on the right side where the white and bright tones are on the histogram. Another example I use often is sunsets. I will rarely create a sunset photo containing data on the right side. The reason for this is I want to darken or saturate the sunset and the brighter colors to make it more dramatic.
While these two images are both considered high key, which pretty much just means there's a bright white background with reduced shadows in the image, their histograms look very different. In this first one with the puppy, there are not many colors or tones to be shown. Therefore, the histogram is pushed all the way to the right side with a totally flat section where the darker tones would be. In the second dog image, the Lightroom histogram shows you the color values as well as the combined values shown in gray. As a side note, with many modern cameras, you have this access to this kind of color histogram right through the camera as well. Check your settings. Note how the colors are reading in the histogram. The little spikes along the bottom represent the colors in the image, with more of the data pushed to the right. There is more data in this histogram as compared to the puppy one because there is more data in the whole scene.
This image of a farrier at a local farm is a difficult image for the camera to capture. If you were relying on the camera to capture it in program mode, it would probably look a lot like this, with the shadows underexposed and the camera only metering for the highlights. When we look at the histogram of this underexposed image, we can see we have a lot of dark colors, very few midtones, and blown out highlights. In the normal exposure, we still have blown out highlights, but the other tones are very evenly distributed across the histogram. We also still have very dark areas of shadow, but in my opinion it's okay since this is how I intended to capture the scene. I didn't want a full silhouette, just some detail in the darker areas.
Using the histogram to help judge your image's exposure is paramount to great color and low noise photography. The key is understanding and studying your images and knowing what the histogram is telling you.
The meter in the camera can be fooled by backlighting, colors, metering mode choice, and many other factors. Make it a habit to check your histogram each time the scene or lighting changes.
Here's your assignment. Review some of the histograms from recent photographs. Did you underexpose it? Overexpose it? Look at the adjustments you had to make in order for the final edited image to be pleasing to you.
Learn how to quickly turn on your histogram on your camera and practice turning it on without looking at the buttons on your camera. It should become second nature. The more you do it, the more you will be using muscle memory and you won't have to look it up each time.
Take photos in different situations like sunset, indoors, outdoors, and high contrast scenes. After each image, look at your histogram and evaluate your exposure. Play with it. If there is something you want to remember, take note of it. And if you need to, take a photo of your camera screen with your smartphone.
Our next lesson is the Master Guide to DSLR Metering Modes, followed by lesson number 4, Don't Be Duped by Your DSLR's Meter. These videos are the next step to mastering your DSLR.
Keep shooting.